All right. Welcome, coaches, goaltenders, goalie parents. My name is Justin Johnson. I'm the founder of Mega Goaltending. I was a NCAA goalie coach for the University of Minnesota and St. Cloud State programs for 11 years. And I can't tell you how excited we are to launch what we believe is one of the first live coaching events for goaltenders. And today I have Cohen New here with us. He's from Champlin, Minnesota. We are at the Schwann Super Rink in Blaine, Minnesota. And really the whole purpose behind this is this. Everywhere we go, we get parents that pull us aside or coaches that ask us questions about drills. They seem to be either aloof, disinterested, or scared to help their goaltenders. Parents are panicked because they don't have a resource and they feel like their goalies are getting ignored. Goalies feel like they're lost and out on an island and they don't have someone that they can work with and someone that believes in them or can give them the proper feedback that they need to get better in the sport that they love. The excuses are over. We have plenty of resources out there, whether it's with us or anything online for people to research and find ways to help their goaltenders. This is one way that we want to be able to impact the game and make the sport and the position better for not only the goaltenders, but a better experience for the parents and for the coaches. So here's our first crack at it. I thought today that a great starting point would be the basic stance. And so we're going to talk through the basic stance and the different finer points of it. We'll talk a little bit about what it might mean for Cohen, who's a second-year Pee-wee, but also what it might mean for a high-end high school goaltender, pro goaltender, or your mites just starting out. So if you have questions or things that you want to see again, feel free to comment, and we'll make some adjustments and make sure that we can address your concerns, questions, or comments that you guys have. So without any further ado, we'll get started here with the basic stance. Now, a couple things that we'll look for in our basic stance. If you notice with Cohen, he already starts in with a pretty good knee bend and his feet spread apart. Now, Cohen is a pretty advanced Pee-wee goaltender, so he's been able to develop and strengthen his stance through hard work and experience. But go ahead and relax for a second, Cohen. One of the very first things that we'll have goaltenders try is to get into like a jumping stance, right? So we're all humans here, right? You're a human, Cohen, right? Okay, he says yes. So we're all humans here. Our body functions in an efficient and effective way when we stay close to a powerful human stance. So when you saw Cohen get into that knee bend like he is, right, you see that his feet are just slightly outside his shoulder. So if I was going to draw a line to the outside of his shoulder, you see that his toes are just outside that line. Now, the further you get away from that line, the less power, speed, strength, agility, balance that you have, right? Same thing the other way. Go ahead and go really narrow on me, right? So if he brings his feet together, even at that point, he's going to have less speed, strength, balance, agility, power. So we want to find that happy medium, kind of that jumping stance. And again, Cohen, where's your weight? Is it on your heels, towards the middle of your feet, or more towards your toes? So more towards his toes, right? And again, it goes back to that jumping position. If you think about it, goalie stance, not a whole lot different than maybe the starting position for baseball, right? Or in golf, or the skater hockey stance, basketball jump shot, right? So there's all kinds of different formations or different stances in different sports that fall back to that kind of knee bend and that positioning. Quickly, since we're talking kind of more about the lower body, let's do a little side shift. So go ahead and see it there, right? So now, again, we have this line kind of basically from the heel, and you can see that his hands are out in front of this line, right? Stick there. His elbows are kind of more closer to the line. So there's that forward lean. Now, there's one thing that we might be able to change a little bit would be just a little dip and a little bit of an aggressiveness in that forward facing position, right? This gets his eyes close to the play. It allows him to see his hands and the puck in front of him and allows him to keep in that still solid jumping style position. Excellent, Cohen. Let's just show him a little bit here on the glove side. So now he's going to turn just so you can see it from the glove side perspective. Important note that you can see here is just that gap between his feet and the stick, okay? This is ideal for if he were to make a stick save, a standing stick save to this side. This side, he's able to rotate and get his stick around in front of his feet, which is an important aspect as well. So again, there's that front side. We'll talk a little bit about the glove positioning, right? The glove is out in front. One way I would also express this is he kind of looks straight ahead. As Cohen looks at the camera or the puck in a more game-like scenario, he's going to be able to see the puck, but out of the corner of his eyes, he's going to be able to see his gloves, right? And this is going to give him a frame of reference for what he covers. He knows that this part of his hand and this part of the hand is the edge of his body. And if the puck is within this window, as he's staring at it out here, he knows that he's in front of the puck, okay? You match that up with his back on the net, and then now you can create that angle. And so those hands not only serve a great balance perspective or balance reference, but also reference to the puck. And so that's an important factor. Okay, we've talked a lot about the lower body. We'll talk maybe about the hips real quick. So Colin, go ahead and show that side perspective again. So his hips, you can see that they're bent, and his body's not straight up. There is that forward lean to his stance, okay? And think about it, go ahead, rest. Think about it as about ready to sit down into a chair. What would it look like if I was going to sit into a chair? And that's kind of where his body and his hips are at, okay? And we're going to maintain that hip placement and that hip position, whether we're in our standing stance or if we snap down to our butterfly, okay? You want to show them a quick side view of snap down to your butterfly? So again, those hips are bent. There's a slight forward lean in that position. The same hip position into his knee is virtually the same as if he was standing in his normal stance. Okay, go ahead. So far we've addressed kind of the basics of the stance. A quick little review, right? Our feet a little bit outside those shoulders. The more outside, the less we're going to have in speed, power, balance, agility, both ways, okay? Weights on the inside of their edge, inside towards their toes, right? So about ready to pounce, keeps them nimble, keeps them agile in their movement, okay? From a hip perspective, our butt's back, the hips are on lock, ready, very similar to a jumping position, okay? Let's talk hands real quick. A very talked about, contested portion of the game is our hand positioning, okay? We already talked about having to be out in front, okay? But one thing I want to make sure we mention is that same clearance that we have on our glove side, go ahead and turn sideways here, Colin, is the same clearance we're going to have here. A lot of younger goalies, they kind of rest that stick here, rest their hand here. Maybe if they're facing forward, they're double covering, they're putting, because it's just kind of convenient and casual, right? We need that hand to be out and elevated, covering new territory, okay, out in front. So that's off our pad, because if you move, give us a shuffle away and shuffle back. Okay, you see how his hands kind of float, right? Pay attention to the blocker again when he does that. So the blocker just kind of floats and maintains that 5-hole stick position. Now check out his catch glove. Go ahead and do it again, Colin. Good, right? So his hands are just kind of floating in the same position relevant as he's moving, right? If you were just to rest his blocker right straight on his pad, pay attention to the shifting that goes on every time he moves. So that stick kind of shifts back and away. He's not covering as much space as he would if it was out in front. This is something that we see a lot of younger goaltenders experience. Okay, now here's where we start to lose goaltenders when they start to make their saves, is they start dropping their hands, right? They start letting their hands flop as they go down. And so notice as when Colin goes from his up stance down to his butterfly, how his hands virtually stay in the same position, okay? Go ahead and do it again just so we can focus on it. Good, right? Hardly any change, right? Hardly any change. And how you do that, Colin, so go ahead and stand up, Colin. When you do that, how do you accomplish that? Do you keep your hands super stiff and super rigid? So out and loose, right? So keep them out and loose, right? So maybe the easiest example we talked about before is if you're carrying some glasses of water, right? If you're carrying some water and you're walking around, you're not going to hold the glass super tight and super stiff. Otherwise, every time you take a step or shift, the water's going to spill out. But if you kind of keep that water in a general position, right, that allows us to stay fluid with our hands. So our hands are in a general position, but they're loose. They're loose, okay? So give them one more time here. Good. Nice and simple. All right, perfect. The last thing we're going to talk about before we start getting some shots and start looking at the basic stance and how it works, moving out, side to side, etc., is the head, okay? So Colin, as we're looking out at that puck, we want to have a little bit of a chin dip. So we're looking at that puck almost from the top of our eyelids, okay? Now, the other thing that this allows us to do, okay, is the first thing it allows us to do is when we go into our butterfly, it allows us to track really tight, right? It allows us to find that puck when it comes in and hits us on our stick or off our pads or in our low part for our catch glove blocker safe, okay? If if his weight is back, go ahead and snap down. And his weight's back, it's really tough to go all the way down that chest piece, the chin cup, chest piece, pads to find that puck making contact with the stick. So we want those hips to play a role and that chin so that he can get that overhead view of the puck as it comes in. Okay? So great. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about from a head perspective. I've seen a lot of younger goaltenders who make instant changes in the appearance of their intensity, instant changes in the appearance of their athleticism, their power, their speed, simply by staying low with the knee bend, right? A lot of players will kind of cheat a little bit. They'll want to kind of stand back, want to straighten out their legs a little bit. And so what I'll challenge goaltenders with is moving underneath the ceiling, right? And so having them bring their head down and do their movement as if they had to play under the ceiling. Perfect. Okay, go ahead, a couple more. Right? So you look how still, whether he's pivoting, he's keep pushing, he's shuffling, he's moving out and back. All of his movement is below that ceiling, right? And that's where his power is going to come from. That's where his agility is going to come from. And that's something that we want to make sure we pay attention to. Sometimes for those younger kids, giving them a visual like a stick or bringing the ceiling down can be very impactful in their movement and how they decide, how they keep their stance. Okay? The last thing I'll just say about that, you notice the difference in his eye height from his stance to his butterfly. So here's his eye height, butterfly. Very minimal, right? So go ahead and go up again, get up again and down. Okay, minimal, right? And the idea behind that is as the puck's traveling at you, you're watching it from your stance, and then when you snap down, you still have the same relative perspective on the puck. We don't want ourselves to be too tall up here and then have to snap down here. It's already hard enough to stop and track that puck. We don't want to make it harder on ourselves. So again, watching for that eye height. Colin, you ready to get hit with some pucks? All right, I love it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to just do some very basic drills. And if you guys have questions or thoughts, don't hesitate to direct message us or chime in so that we can address any needs that you guys might have or questions that you might have. Even if it's not directly related to a stance, we're here today to serve you guys and make sure you're getting the information that you're looking for. So we'll just start out with a really basic, let's just go a shuffle away, shuffle back, top of crease, and we're just going to put a couple pucks on you, okay? Now, anytime I'm working with a goaltender on refining or perfecting their stance, I just like to start basic just to kind of see where things start to fall off. So I'll just have Colin do a shuffle away and a shuffle back. Go. And all I'm really looking for here is actually less about the save, and it's more about is he able to keep his body in the formation that we've been looking for. Go. Okay. Good. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of coaches try and make, is that it's all about the save. And right now we're focusing on stance. So the more I can get him to be having the stance that we're looking for him, the better it is. And that's what our main focus will be. Go. And again, you see how even when he went down there, he's able to track that puck because of his eye height. Go. Okay. Two more, Colin, two more. Go. Great fluidity of his hands, keeping them nice and level, able to track that puck in. Go. Good. Okay. So again, if your goaltenders are struggling with their stance, it's important that you give them something very simple to focus on, a very simple movement like a shuffle away and a shuffle back, which allows them to kind of just focus in on that stance. Allows you to pick apart what are their hands doing, what are their eyes doing, how's their knee bend, are they finding themselves too wide after their move, etc. Okay. So next one, let's add a T-push. So let's go post out to the middle for a shot. Okay. What we can highlight here on this play is how does he move with his stick positioning coming from low to high? Does he maintain his stance as he's coming from a low to high quick play? Go. And so I'm testing at his stick right now because I want to see if he can keep the distance, the gap between his feet and his stick. Go. Good. Now I'm going to test a couple of his hand shots here, glove hand and blocker, just to see if he can keep it and maintain that distance as he's traveling towards me. Couple more. Go. Nice, great play there. One more. Go. Good. All right. So you've had a chance now to kind of watch a lateral play with this stance, and also watch a low to high play with this stance. So now we're going to kind of combine it, add a little bit of chaos to the drill to see if you can still maintain that quality stance and hand positioning here. Okay, so here, this time I'm going to have you do shuffle away, shuffle back like we started. I'm going to shoot the puck on the ice. I'm going to tell you where I'm shooting. I'm going to shoot it on the ice, whichever direction it goes. Stick stay there, recover to the post, and then right back out me for the second shot. Okay, so basically combining the last two drills. Ready? Go. Yep. Okay. Try that again. Go. Okay. Now, on each of those plays, the goalie coach of me is saying, oh, I saw about 3 or 4 things I'd like to see him do a little bit better. Okay. I'm not going to focus on it. I'm not going to overcoach him by getting up on the wrong leg when he went to recover, or how he didn't pivot and head back to the post to recover right now. I might mention it after the drill, but at this point in time, I'm more focused on making sure that, again, the stance is what we want to accomplish and what we want to dive into. So that's where my focus is going to be. Ready? Go. Cohen, not helping you out there, my man. My fault. Ready? Go. All right, one more good one here. Ready? Go. There we go. Good. Now, one added bonus there that we maybe didn't touch on is being able to protect and absorb pucks to the body, whether it's in your butterfly or whether it's in your standing stance like Owen just did there. By having his hands out in front, his hips back, he's able to absorb that puck in a better way and hold on to it so that it's not pumping out and not putting himself in a position where now all of a sudden, that puck's pumping out and he's not able to gather it. So by having his hands out like this, it allows him to, kind of gather that puck in and absorb it. Okay? All right, let's go one more. This time, I'm going to have you start down, offset. So I'm going to have you start down. You're going to recover to your feet for a shot, and then we're going to do this like we did in the last drill, where after you make that save, you're going to post and back out, all right? All right, ready? Go. Good. So let's see one more like that on the other side. One more on the other side there, Colin. Go. Excellent, excellent. All right, come on out here, Colin. So, spent probably the last part of 19, 20 minutes here talking a little bit about the stance and making sure that our goaltender is in a great position, set himself up for success in the play, right? I know that we have a couple questions out there about stick size, right? And I think that this is one of those things that is a really difficult, there's no hard, fast rule about stick size, right? But since Cohen's here, we can talk about it. Now, I'll tell you this, the trend out there, right? If you're talking about more advanced goaltenders, high school, pro, college goaltenders, they're going to go with a much smaller paddle than you would think, right? And the idea behind that is because most of their saves are actually in their butterfly, right? So go ahead and go down your butterfly. So if Cohen had a longer paddle, right? So he slides his hand up, we're just going to replicate a longer paddle. The ability to make a stick save with a long paddle really becomes difficult. So a lot of high-end goaltenders, pro goaltenders, high school age goaltenders will have a shorter paddle, which allows them to be very quick and nimble with these butterfly saves, okay? when I'm looking at sizing for a goaltender, I'm looking for comfortability. Go ahead and stand up in your butterfly. I'm looking at what it looks like in their butterfly like that, and also in their stance, right? So Cohen has, I would say, a great paddle height for him and his game, because I know his game. So I think that's perfect. I would say if you're interested in looking for a longer paddle and you know that you need to size up, bring your existing stick in to the shop and find what you want to do next, right? Because and what that size is. So different brands go different measurements, different heights. You want to make sure that, you know, a 23-inch and a CCM means the same thing in a Bauer if you're making that adjustment. So great question on stick height. It's always something that can be a little finicky and something that you have to kind of toy with. Don't make the mistake of getting too long of a paddle and thinking it's going to help them straighten out their stance. All they'll do is just allow them to shoot their stick out even further. The last thing I'll say is for a lot of you mite coaches out there, or mite parents, this is not like skaters. We don't cut off the shaft of the stick to match their nose or to match their height. That really throws the balance off quite a bit when it comes to the goalie stick. So we leave the shaft intact. We don't cut that off or anything down on that to make sure that we have that balance with that stick. That was a great question. All right, so the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is this. The whole purpose of doing this is to interact with people who are interested in helping goaltenders have a better experience, whether it's the goaltenders themselves, whether it's you as parents who feel a little lost out there, or whether it's you as coaches who maybe don't know what to do with your goaltenders. And so we hear from a lot of coaches saying, hey, I don't know what to do with goaltenders. I just leave them in there. I just let them take shots, right? That's how I train my goaltenders. You probably experienced a little bit of that, Colin, right? Okay. But do me a favor, Colin. Take off your helmet for a second. Okay. So it's really easy for coaches to say, I'm going to ignore my goaltenders. I don't know anything about goaltenders. But we forget that it's a kid. It's a kid in the net who wants your approval, who wants to get better, who signed up for a sport that they're passionate about and they care about, and they're looking for guidance, and they deserve guidance too. And so Omega Goaltending, we want to be a resource for you guys as coaches, parents, and goaltenders to help make sure that your experience as a person, not just as a goalie, is a great experience, right? So please check us out at our Facebook page, megagoaltending.com, for any resources that you might be looking for. We're here to help and make sure it's a great experience for goaltenders, coaches, and parents. And we hope you enjoyed this segment. We're looking to do more of these here in the future. If you have questions or things that you want to see, make sure that you direct message us or feel free to email us at info@megagoaltending.com, and we're going to be ready to get after it. So once again, thanks for taking the time to check this out, and thanks for taking the time to work with your goaltenders. Right, Colin? All right, my man.